On this episode, you're going to hear what's possible for a real estate agent to build one day. Most agents are just thinking about selling the next house and then the next one. But there's so many different doors that can open just by you having a real estate license. And so today we have Matthew Kane back on the show for the fourth time. He's reached a completely new level in his business, and he's sharing exactly what he's doing and the steps he took along the way to get there. What is up, guys? Welcome back to the Massive Agent Podcast, episode 313. I am your host, Dustin Brome, here in Salt Lake City, Utah. I am super stoked today because one of my favorite agents on the planet, Matt Kane, is back on the show. He's been on the show 3 times before. This is his 4th appearance, and every single time he's on the show, it is a fan favorite. You guys love it, and I think it's because he just keeps it so damn simple, and that's also why he has the success that he has and why he's built what he's built. So really excited for him to share. He's now built a team of 20 agents, and he's getting into real estate investment. He's starting other business ventures that are synergistic with the real estate business, and he's firing on all cylinders. He's going to be sharing a lot of his secrets, a lot of what he's done. He's going to give advice to the agents who are where he was in his first year, where he's just trying to sell another house and get that real estate sales business foundation built, which if you're there, that's okay. But the whole point of this episode is to show you what's next, what's possible once you build a solid foundation as a realtor, what you can actually build and how many doors are open to you that you may not even realize are open. So this episode should be extremely encouraging to you. And at the end, Matt will share how you can actually learn from him, how you can reach out to him and get advice from him directly. He's extremely accessible and very generous with his time and his willingness to help other agents. So that's super cool. He's one of my favorite agents in the industry by far. So this is one hell of an episode. Before we get started, got to give a shout out to all of our new Massive Agent Referral Network members. We just launched, I think it's 2 weeks ago now, the Massive Agent Referral Network. We have 45 or so members. We have over 100 applications, and 30 agents or so are currently processing, waiting to join. And it's been a great success. However, we still need representatives for the majority of the markets out there. And so I got to figure out a way how to just show a map of all of the available, or I'm going to figure out how to do a map of all the claimed markets. And then so you can see all the markets that we still need a rep from. So we need you to apply. We need you to be part of it. You have to qualify by actually selling houses. You need to be selling at least a house per month. The more, the better. You need to actually live and work in the area that you're planning on representing. So, you can't live 3 hours away and claim a certain market. You actually have to work that market. And there are monthly dues, which are either $49 or $99, depending on the size of the market. Some of the top markets in the country, the top 20, are $99 a month. And what we're finding is, it was theory in the beginning, but what we're finding is that the agents that are willing to put some skin in the game, they're willing to pay a little bit each month, to invest a little bit each month, we get much more serious, much more intentional agents. And the culture of the group already in just a couple of weeks is incredible. So you also need to be able to bring some referrals to the group. If you're somebody that just wants to join a group, not contribute anything, sit back and get referrals, don't apply. We don't want you. We don't want that type of mentality. But if you can bring referrals and get, absolutely, go to massiveagentpodcast.com/referral. And on that, when you go to that application, at the very end, there will be a link to see the map of available markets. So that's where I'll put it. massiveagentpodcast.com/referral. Fill out the application. At the end, you can see the link to all the markets that are claimed and whatnot. So don't assume your market is taken, because chances are it's not. Now, before we get into the episode with Matt, try kcm.com/bam. You need to check out Keeping Current Matters. KCM is an incredible tool that they do all this research for you. They have all these economists all these people that are much smarter than you and I as far as housing and finance and market trends and what's happening, what's going to happen, and they just deliver it right to you. They just say, here's what you need to know. Here's how to communicate this to your clients. Here's how to take advantage of this information to get more clients. And they do it all for very inexpensive per month. Definitely go to check out Keeping Current Matters, try kcm.com/BAM. You're also going to want to check out the BAMX community, a bunch of like-minded agents all across the country who are doing great stuff in marketing, great stuff in the client experience, and they're open books. They're all sharing what they're doing. An incredible community. Go learn more about BAMX at massiveagentpodcast.com/BAMX, and make sure you use code MASSIVE at checkout to save 10% for as little as $10 a month. You could be part of the BAMX community. And honestly, my description of it is probably doing it a gross misservice, because it is so much more powerful than I even described. Please do yourself a favor, check out the BAMX community on the BAM website, or just go to massiveagentpodcast.com/BAMX. And when you join, save yourself some money and use code MASSIVE. So let's jump into the conversation with Matt Cain from Wilmington, North Carolina, who has relatively quickly, within like 2 years, become one of, if not the biggest, most highest producing agent in his entire market. And he's going to share with you how he's done it. All right, guys, I'm here with Matt Cain, 4th time on the podcast. Always excited to hear what you have going on. And like we were talking about before we started recording, you just keep reaching new levels. And each time you hit this new level, you have a cool story to tell on what you're doing, how you're doing it, and all of that. And so I'm excited to have you back. Matt Cain, welcome back to the Massive Agent Podcast.
Excited to be here. 4th time. Keep growing and keep having some new experiences over here. So it's been great on my end.
Absolutely. And your shows, your episodes in the past have been fan favorites for sure. And I think your story resonates with so many people because you keep it simple. You're not super into the weeds on a bunch of different things. You focus on a few things and you just do them repeatedly and aggressively and aggressively consistent. So, since you were, let's see, the first time you were on the show, you had sold 40 houses your first year. That probably seems like a lifetime ago. And this second time, and that was April of 2020, by the way, the first time we had you on. The second time, you had just sold 80 houses your second year, so you doubled. And then your third year, or the third time on the show, I don't remember actually I thought I had this pulled up.
I broke the 100 mark. I don't know, somewhere.
That's right. That's right. You broke the 100 mark, and I believe you were just starting a team at that point.
Yeah.
So why don't you bring us up to speed? What have you done? What have you been up to since the last time you were on the show? Because you were still a solo agent, just barely, thinking about starting a team last time you were on.
Yeah, I was a solo agent, overwhelmed, wanted to be a team leader. Just wasn't doing it the right way. Was basically trying to bring people on while I was still fully committed to production, which just is not a good spot to be in as someone who wants to be a team leader, because you're dependent on that paycheck and you're not really willing to hand off what you don't need, so to speak. So it took me a while. It took me about my first 3 agents coming and going, and losing them. And then I ultimately ended up bringing on one agent that I had met with in on our team now. He's our operations guy on our team now, but at that time he came in. I think he had like 4 million in sales in his first 4 or 5 months. Just brand new agent, just killing it. And he actually approached me and said something along the lines of, "Hey, selling houses is fun. It's a great way to make money, but I want to be part of something bigger." And he's the only person who has ever approached me to do that. He's also a retired military guy, so he's got his stuff in order, and basically gave him the reign on the operations side of the business. He can handle the onboarding, a lot of the training, a lot of the mentoring, a lot of the stuff I didn't have the capacity to do. And over the past, I mean, it's only been like a year and a few months of having the team. We're up to 20 team agents, and just continuing to grow and multiply.
That's amazing. And so are you completely out of personal production at this point?
I'm just kind of being more selective. I have some
Okay.
past clients, some high dollar past clients that, I'll continue to work with them if they say, hey, we need you to sell our house. It's typically only going to be a listing or something like that. And I try to hand off pretty much everything else, so I can focus more on the investment side of the business, because I think that's ultimately where I want to be at this point.
Excellent. And we're definitely going to go there because I've heard you doing some big stuff on the investment side and other business ventures you're doing. But when did you, so you said it was really hard for you to build and maintain a decent team while you were still fully in production, but you're still doing some production right now. Did you kind of find a sweet spot for, how much time per week you can devote to production versus business building and team building?
Not exactly. And I think I've referenced this to a couple people where, you'll go to a lot of events, a lot of trainings, and you're talking to people who, hey, I want to start a real estate team. That was never where I was. That was never where my head was. Like, I want to start a team. Like, no, I don't
Right.
want to start a team. I'm doing really well. I'm selling a lot of houses. I got to the point where I needed to start a team. Like, I had so many leads coming in, and I started looking at all these missed opportunities where I have the lead flow, I have the business. I need a team to support that business. So it's never grown out of want. It was always out of necessity. And I think people, having those opportunities to hand off to people, very few teams actually have those warm opportunities to hand off. So when I was able to do that, I think it really made me stand out amongst the rest.
So I know that a lot of agents struggle with this, when to start a team. When did you know it was the right time? When was it obvious to you? Was it a certain income, a certain amount of time you're working per week? Was it number of
Now,
deals? What would you say?
I'll give you the real. I'm going to give you the real answer. It was
Please do.
when I decided that I hated answering my phone.
Mm,
When I got absolutely exhausted every time somebody called, and I dreaded answering that phone to talk to people because I was just so exhausted. Like, I didn't have the energy for a conversation or an argument or a negotiation. And that was my cue. That was my cue where I need to basically step it up to the next slot, to the next spot, or be done with sales altogether.
mm. Okay, so talk more about that. So it sounds like you just got to a point of burnout, which is super common for solo agents to do, obviously, because literally everything's on your shoulders to do. Even with the TC, like you still have all those people to deal with and service.
Yeah, I think just having basically, 2020 to 2022, 120 miles per hour at all times. And then we're coming into a market like now where it's quiet. It's almost where, it's basically a crash. It feels like an energy crash because I've been going so quickly for so long, contract, closing. I was closing a house at least once every 3 days or so. Um, to go from that speed to slow down to where our market is today, it, it's very easy to not just slow down, but to just die out altogether and kind of lose that energy, lose that momentum. And that's sort of where I was finding myself. And then it basically took me realizing how many missed opportunities I had, that I needed people to step in, people to help me, people to, help me grow, so to speak.
So let's dive into that because that's another spot where a lot of agents uh, fumble, right, or stumble. Is they 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 need to start a team or want to, but then they really struggle in, like, how do you do it? Like, who do you need? What are the steps? What are the systems? How did you learn that stuff?
We got a great mentor. We got a great mentor in our organization, Clayton. Most of you guys have probably either heard him speak or have seen
He's been
Dustin's
on the show
podcast.
before.
Yeah,
Yeah.
listen to Dustin's podcast in the past. He's kind of opened up his playbook to me, and that whole idea of rocket fuel. Um, it's easy to you can go a lot further with more than one person is ultimately what it comes down to, and you can only handle so much and grow so fast if it's just yourself as an individual. Um, Whereas I've grown a team that's doing volume, so much volume that most of the team leaders in our town that have been doing this for 15 to 20 years, we blew past them in a matter of 8 months. So
That's
it's
incredible.
when we're attracting the right people, we offer different value proposition, different young, high energy type of environment, type of crowd, and it's all driven, hungry people. We've hired the right people, and those people are attracting more people that are just like minded to them. So it's kind of creating a little Wolf of Wall Street in our office.
I love it. That's awesome. The little boiler room action.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So as you've built this machine, which is obviously being built the right way because of how fast it's growing and the culture you're building, how much of it have you completely had to figure out on your own versus how much was learned or inspired by mentors or others?
I would say, as far as being inspired by mentors or others, that the biggest help I got there was basically my launch, making that decision, knowing how much business to keep to myself versus to hand off to other people. Everything else I already had it in order, right? I had always kept a clean database. I had always worked from the database. I've known my lead sources. I know what my ROI on every lead source I have. So it wasn't necessarily bringing in all these new aspects. It's just scaling it up to feed more than just me. Feed 20 people. So that's really where the differentiator was, and um, most of the help I got was kind of right out the gate. As far as one of the guys said to me, it's like, how much business do I hand off if I want to become a team leader? Like, how much should I hand off these first few years as I'm transitioning? That was always my biggest question. Like, I still want to make a lot of money. I've always made a lot of money in sales. How much can I hand off, or how much do I need to hand off? And the answer to that question that kind of stuck with me was, you need to be in a position mentally where you are willing to hand off everything you do not need for your family to survive in order to grow a team successfully. It's because the
Mm.
more opportunities that you're going to be able to provide to people on your team, the quicker you're going to grow, the more they're going to appreciate you, and the better off you are going to be with retainment. And that's kind of what I did. Just went all in on it, handing off as many transactions as I could, which is what led me to the investment side of the business, where is ultimately where I make the majority of our money now.
Oh wow. Okay. Well, I'm excited to get there. To just to close the loop on the team building, because you've done it so fast. Uh, when you got over the initial hump of launching this team, and it sounds like it was more of a mental hump than anything else. Um, Looking backwards, after you got past uh, that initial roadblock, has it been easier than you thought it would be to build a team of 20? Has it been about the same? Like, talk about that a little bit.
I don't think anything's ever gotten easier. I think my time has just gone in different directions. Um, it's of course it's very hard at first to start handing off your transactions, um, but then you kind of get to a point where you start to, it's kind of the trade-off, time versus money. You start to capture more time, right? You're handing off your transactions, you start to capture more time, you gain more bandwidth to attack different opportunities. And that's kind of,
Yeah.
it was sort of a combination of just that, and then it was stuff like people on our team messaging me at 10 o'clock at night, just letting me know how much they appreciate me. Like, stuff like
Mm.
that, that's more rewarding to me than closing a house. It just kind of at that point now, like, that's what I'm going for.
That's awesome. What would you say is the biggest thing that you screwed up over the last year and a half, 2 years of building the team?
Trying to do too much myself, being afraid to delegate. Um, yeah, being afraid to delegate was a big one. It always has been a big one for me. Even as when I was an individual agent hiring a TC, that was a hurdle in itself. The idea of giving away $350 a transaction scared the hell out of me. Now it's like, okay, I'm going to put this person on salary, and I'm sharing profit with my operations manager, and kind of just giving things away and being comfortable knowing that I hired the right people and that the right people are there and that people are being onboarded correctly. The office administrative work is being handled correctly, and that everybody's in good hands.
So how did you get past that fear or that reluctance to outsource and to delegate?
Didn't have a choice. So I did not have a choice. I was just like every other transition that I've made. It's been out of need. Um, it's been a huge need for me just because I keep running into a ceiling where my time is completely gone, and I'll be super stressed out, and that just has a negative effect on between me and the team. It has a negative effect me at home, me pretty much everywhere. It's basically I get to the point where I need to make a decision. I need to make a decision. Don't I'm not the kind of person that sits there and thinks on a decision for weeks at a time before I do anything. I make a decision and I roll with it. Um, that's a whole other topic, but I think people waste a ton of time after they've already mentally made the decision to go ahead and implement that decision and do something with it. And it just kind of sits and lingers. But I'm very very fast to make a decision and very quick to execute it.
That's from my point of view, you're definitely, if I could sum you up with one word, it's you're a doer. Like you just do. And so what you just said makes perfect sense. Uh, you're right. There's a lot of people, and myself included, at times where I'll reluctantly, like, I know what I'm going to do, but then I just drag my feet. Right? We all do that with something, but you've
Did
just found a way to do it less.
Had an experience with that a few weeks ago, and it was, we had grown so quickly. Unknowingly, I brought on a few of the wrong people. Um,
Mm.
they didn't have like that all-in mentality. They just weren't there. They did a transaction and like disappeared for weeks, kind of thing. And I had my list of people that were just like, not good people, just not productive people.
Yeah.
And got on the phone. I gave everybody, I always give people a fair shot, give them a warning. Hey, we need to change something in the next 30 days. And, called one, let him go. And then I just kind of get on a roll. And it's like, okay, now we're cleaning house. Let's clean off those 3 or 4 red people on my board here, and let's start from scratch and continue to build with the right people. But just getting in that momentum and just pick up the phone, make the decision, pick up the phone, get it done. And then it's just like anything. Once you start doing it, it just kind of clicks and it starts to feel good that you are doing it.
Yeah, man. Momentum feels good. So you said earlier that the majority of your money now is made on the investment side of the business. The reason that I invited you back on the pod was because you've now reached this level where you've built this team of 20, and you're doing all these other, you're into the investment world, you have other business ventures going on, and I think it's a great example to other agents of what's possible. I think it's so important to begin with the end in mind. And because most agents are just thinking about, how do I sell another house and then another one and then another one. And look, you can make a decent living doing that, but you can't build a business, and you can't build a lifestyle that you really want. So when did you know that it was time to start working in the investment side, start other business ventures? Like, when did you take that next step to that next level?
It wasn't intentionally. Again, it was I actually had some real estate. I think it was like a Google ad or something like that I had going on. And a gentleman had called me and just said, hey, I'm desperate to sell my house. I need it sold immediately. Um, would you be willing to buy my house from me? I was like, well, fill me in here. What's going on? I could probably put it on the market and sell it for a lot more. And he's just like, I don't have the time. I don't have the time to do that. We'll get foreclosed on. We have medical bills to pay, this and that. If you give me $100,000 for my house and close it in 3 weeks, it's all yours. It's like, whoa, this is a real thing. There's a need for this. And I wasn't marketing it. I wasn't doing anything at all. And it was simple as kind of putting the house under contract and putting it right back on the market the day after I closed on it. I could have wholesaled it, but just put it right back on the market and made, almost $70,000 without really doing anything.
Wow.
Which is just wild. And I've always known sort of where my value is. The one thing I'm really good at with real estate is lead generation. And I'm really just taking those same principles and applying them to a different type of lead now. Just looking for people that are motivated to sell, people that might be in foreclosure or going into foreclosure, and providing them with a menu of services instead of just, hey, let me come list your house. I can now go and say, hey, Dustin, we offer you this guaranteed offer. We'll buy you out of your home. We'll do a full service listing, or maybe, I don't know, a flat fee, just a menu of services. And giving people those options and just being upfront and being direct and honest. And it's been an incredible start to the year, or end to the year, I should say.
So just by opening up the different options you can provide to a homeowner, that got you into flipping houses and all of that?
Yeah. If you look at some of the biggest real estate teams in the country, they're always built off of certain promises. It could be, home sold in 30 days, or guaranteed, or I buy it. Or you'll see people guaranteed cash offer on your home, quick close. And those are all real estate companies, and they're all doing the exact same play. It's the same play they've been doing for 30 years. They get people to call them, they give them a cash offer. Typically, the cash offer is not something that they're going to find acceptable, and then you fall back and list their property. So it's just a menu of services that gets your phone ringing. It's a few different things that you can market, and you can build your entire real estate business off of it.
So this is cool. So just by saying, hey, we could do A, B, or C, we could buy it for a lot less, or we could list it and sell it for more. I assume one helps the other, right? Like when they see what the offer is, they're like, well, that's not cool. We better list it. Probably helps get the client, ready to list. But then are you surprised at how many people just want out quickly?
Yeah. More and more so with people in today's climate. They're more apt. A lot of them just have a sense of urgency or a reason for needing to sell. They can't wait 30 to 60 days for their home to go under contract with a realtor, then pay realtor fees. And then, I don't know, they might need money to make repairs. It's just not feasible for them to do it. Or I just had a lot of people that prefer convenience. And
Right.
I am completely shocked as to how many people do. So a lot of people just, they don't seem to care. They're not as motivated by money as you would think.
Yeah. So what would you recommend to the average agent, the average solo agent, selling 20, 30, 40 houses a year? What adjustment would you recommend they make to start offering more services, more options to homeowners? How should they do it?
Honestly, I would probably invite any agent, any team leader, anybody really to kind of spend the time and go through, create your operating system. We use EOS, right? So we have, knowing what your core values are, knowing what your core focus is, knowing your marketing strategy is kind of what we're talking about now. What are the guarantees, right? They talk about your uniques and your guarantees. So we offer 3 guarantees with our real estate company: the home sold, or we'll buy it, your immediate buyout offer, and then we also have the elite buyer program. And just those three guarantees, if you can market those guarantees properly, and really build them out and treat them like a true business, then you're going to kill it. You just have to put your marketing plan in play instead of just kind of sitting here waiting for a hopeful referral from a Google local services ad, or Homelight or whatever it is. Create programs and market them like a true business.
Let's talk about these a little more because I think there's so much gold and value in those three guarantees you offer. And like you said earlier, there's major teams, like major huge teams that just run on one. Like they just have one guarantee, but they're known for it because they've been doing it for years. They do it on radio, they do it everywhere, right? But what is your elite buyer program?
So this is
What does that
something
look
I
like?
mean, I ripped off and duplicated this one as well from DLP. And you're not. It's not just them doing it. It's tons of teams across the country. If a young Dustin Brown first time home buyer wants to come, he's interviewing me as his agent. I might pitch him on the elite buyer program. And that elite buyer program may look something along the lines of, hey, it's $1,000 program, right? You have to buy in $1,000 to it. When you get to closing, we guarantee that we are going to get you a home warranty, and we're also going to save you $500 on closing costs, which is ultimately, when you do the math on that, that's at least a $1,300 to $1,500 value for the $1,000 initial spend that you're going to make. And we're also going to send you off market opportunities as we capture these motivated sellers. Right there, a buyer like that comes in and is like, well, that's worth it to me. I'm going to get my money back. I'm going to write that team a check for $1,000. They're not going anywhere. They're going to buy a house with you. They're not going to disappear on you because you're already engaged. They've already cut you a check. They're going to get their money back. It would be foolish of them to shop agents or go somewhere else. So you secure that business um, for next to no cost, and in the grand scheme of things, because they basically just bought their home warranty as well as their closing costs, and you're not paying referrals, you're not paying anything. Just a much bigger ROI if you're able to kind of develop that platform, that marketing strategy, and actually capitalize on it.
I love this concept so much of the elite buyer program, or the elite VIP or platinum, or call it whatever the hell you want, right? Really, if we're being honest, what you're doing is you're packaging up the stuff that you are probably doing for buyers anyways, but you're doing it in a way where they feel like there's more value because they understand all of it, and they're mentally opting into each one. Every bullet point you go through, they're like, oh, I want that. Yes, I want that. I want that. So much so that they are then paying you out of their pocket just to work with you. So like you said, they're not going anywhere, right?
Essentially a
And
retainer fee is what it
yes,
is. Yeah. It's
yes,
essentially a retainer fee. And then you're also able to kind of double down where, hey, part of that deal, the 500 closing costs, that might mean that you're using my preferred lender, because my preferred lender has also agreed to contribute $500 to your closing costs.
there you
And
go.
that helps you as an agent develop those preferred lender relationships, because they're going to be appreciative with their buyers not shopping around different lenders. Um, you might have your own mortgage company or things like that where it's just a win-win all around.
So there's some people listening and their brains are breaking right now. They're because this is pushing up against their paradigms. And I'm sure at one point in your career it did with yours too. They're like, wait, why? I'm just lucky if they would sign with me. Like I'm going to ask them to pay me for me to work with them, and so it's breaking brains right now. But now that you've done this for a while, have you seen better? Obviously, you see better retention, but are you getting more or better reviews from the people that opt into this program? Are they easier to work with? Like, what's your experience been with those who are choosing to pay out of pocket?
It's the kind of client that you want. Um, the clients that you don't necessarily want, or that are going to be difficult or challenging, they typically aren't the ones that are going to participate in a program like that with an upfront cost and kind of an upfront commitment. Um, so It's definitely a better relationship with those type of clients, and because they'll come in, they'll do an initial consult, everything's done right, um, and it almost always leads to a positive review at the end of the closing.
Wow. Uh, do you have, I assume you have buyers that do not choose to join the elite buyer program?
Yeah, those they're pretty few and far between, and I'm not marketing it nearly as hard as I should be. It's just a tool. It's just a tool in the tool belt, and if someone calls us or asks us for information about buying or selling, they can get that. Um, but yeah, it's not heavily marketed, and I'd probably say 20% of my business come from buyer side comes through that. The rest
Wow.
of it is you know other other vehicles.
Wow. That's awesome. So let's talk about the other guarantees where, like, if the house doesn't sell in 30 days, I'll buy it. Agents that that are just hearing about it or don't really know the like the next steps of that, they freak out because they're like, well, I can't afford to buy their house, right? If it doesn't sell, I can't buy it. Did you have that same objection? And if so, like how does it work?
I just never understood it. I think my first few years, I never cared enough to look into it or didn't realize how big of an opportunity that is. Because when you're not saying that you're going to pay full market value for their house. You're saying, I'm going to give you 70%, 65, 70% of what your home is worth to help you move on to your next destination. And that a lot of times, right, people will, just like anything, home sold guaranteed, or I'll buy it. They're going to call you on that, assuming that you're going to buy it for full market value. The important part of what I just said is that they're going to call you on that.
Yes.
And you're going to pick up your phone and you're going to provide options. And, well, hey, we're not going to be able to buy it for full market value, but let's sit down and talk about what we can sell it for. It's all
Love
about
it.
what you do with those phone calls.
Have you ended up buying houses from, have people exercised that option?
No, because the reality behind that too is, of course, there's a bunch of fine print behind it. In order for us to do that program, I either really have to want that house for some reason, or the seller has 20 steps that they need to do in order for that program to go into effect. It's professional staging, pre-home inspections, all repairs done on home inspection, um, scheduled price drops, things like that make it where that home as long as I priced it realistically, that home will sell.
Got it.
That guaranteed home sold, it's really just to get the phone call is the big value there.
Yeah. And it's peace of mind for the seller too, knowing that if if you end up sucking, that they have the backup plan.
Something to
Uh,
fall back on.
exactly. So if you did have to buy somebody's house or you wanted to, and I know I've heard agents say this before, it's like, well, I can't afford to buy that house. What would you do in that situation if all of a sudden you're like, oh, we have to buy this person's house?
If you have to buy that person's house and it's truly at the value, the 70% value or whatever it is that you have determined for your kind of investment standards, if you can't buy that house, I could probably find you an investor that would.
Mm-hmm.
Because not many people are not going to buy a house if there's an instant 25, 30% equity in that house.
Right. Right. Uh,
Yeah. Send it to me.
I've
I'll buy
learned. Right, exactly. And we have mentors and partners that are like, if you ever have that, come to us. We'll finance it and split it with you. And anytime you can get a house for, you know, at 70% of market value, it's not a bad deal.
Yeah.
And what I'm learning too, I never knew this early on because scarcity thinking and just, you only know what you know. But there's so much money out there. There's so much demand by investors for deals that once you have a deal, as long as it is a deal, the financing's there. Like the financing becomes the easy part as long as it really is a deal. Is that your experience?
Absolutely. Oh, yes. There's 1,000 different ways that you can do it. You could probably make, 10 phone calls to individuals and find the money. You could go to a bank. You could do hard money. You could do anything. It's all really easy as long as the numbers work.
Yes,
So it has to be a deal, of course, but if you can actually find something that's a legitimate deal, you should not have any issue finding financing. And if you do, reach out. I'm happy to make some introductions.
absolutely. Call Matt, call me, call us both. I mean, we'll
Yeah.
we'll make it work. Yeah,
Yeah.
for real. So, what else are you doing on the investment side? Uh, are you really just flipping houses and all of that based on the marketing efforts coming off of your real estate sales business, or are you now actively going out and looking for flips?
I'm actively going out looking for flips. So we have a couple different lead sources that we're using now. Um, and I'm happy to share those with people who are interested in this, but for a later time. But we have a few different lead sources that we're working now. We have an acquisitions manager in place who's basically, um, you know, working those leads alongside me. Those are the leads that I'm working today. And we're setting the appointments, going out there, meeting with sellers, giving offers, acquiring properties. And then a lot of times we'll take those properties and hand them off to our sales team to sell the home after we acquire them. And that's just another added little benefit for agents on the team where we can give them these little bonus paychecks that are like freebies, free listing commissions. Um, and that'll make some people appreciate you as well.
I mean, that's a hell of a way to build culture and retention in your group. Plus, you're just creating an army of bird dogs to bring deals to you. Like it's a win 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 win.
Yeah, we also have a partner investment program in our team where Susie brings us a transaction, shows us that, hey, this is truly, at 70% of value. Or we could flip it, we could put this much into it, make this much money, proceeds, and kind of run the numbers and do the homework. And they're willing to manage the project. We buy the property for them, we finance the repairs, and then we just split the proceeds. And that's just one way where I can give agents an opportunity that they might not have been able to financially take advantage of. And it's another way for me to leverage my time because I
That's
can't
right.
go out there and manage the projects myself.
That's right. Are you strictly flipping houses, or are you doing any buy and holds? Are you building a rental portfolio or anything?
Yeah, I'm actually kind of like in a resetting my little portfolio stage right now. I've just let go of two of the properties. We're at seven right now. I'm trying to break I get past 10 doors in 2024, but I'm letting go of two and I'm going to start going hard into multi-unit properties.
There you go. Yeah, I was just going to ask, are those all single family units?
They are the only ones, like I said, I'm selling a couple of them. But the only ones I'm going to be keeping that are single families are ones that I secured when interest rates were, 3-4%, where they're highly profitable, and it'd be foolish for me to sell them.
Right. Right. Are you doing any to acquire these properties? Are you doing any creative seller financing or subject to stuff, or is it all traditional purchases?
I'm not because I don't do any of the subject to. I don't do anything like that. I'm just fearful. Realistically, I'm just fearful that if I bought a house subject to, if somebody were to call the note, that I would then be holding that property at 7-8% interest, and that is going to become a loss for me.
Right.
Um, so I'm really trying to avoid that. Everything I do is just conventional financing. It's pretty straight up. I don't do a lot of wholesaling just because I am on obviously the retail side of real estate sales as well. It's a little bit of a conflict of interest when I'm meeting with the seller, and a lot of these wholesalers give people the impression that they're buying the house when they might not actually be buying the house. They might be wholesaling it to someone else. Um, so I can sleep a lot better at night if I go in, if I give the offer, if I close on the house, and then I go ahead and put it back in the market on my own terms.
Yeah. That's fair. That's fair. So you're now at this level where you're branching out into different business ventures too, right? Talk about some of those.
Yeah, we did mortgage for a while, so I just we kind of stepped away from that. We did mortgage. I just it got to a point where I was continuously getting dragged into the mortgage side of the business, which is not where I wanted to be. Um, and then if I had a client that I sold a house to, and I brought them in the mortgage side of the business, and for some reason they weren't having a good experience, it kind of killed the transaction from both the mortgage standpoint as well as they end up being more spiteful towards you for having referred your mortgage company. So we
Right.
decided to do away with that, but we are in the process of working on some title. So we're gonna incorporate title as well. North Carolina is a little bit of a tougher state to do that, where you actually have to buy the title company
Hmm.
instead of partnering with one.
You can't do a joint venture.
Can't do a joint venture here or a attorney
Okay.
state, but
Okay.
that's something we're working on now as well.
Do you have to buy 100% of it or just a certain percentage?
You can. I cannot remember the name of it off the top of my head, but basically, you become an affiliate owner of a title company. Um,
Okay.
so you're not really the owner of the company, but you own your local branch type of thing.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. Uh, so what else do you see possible? Like, are you already planning the next step in this journey?
It's really the next step in this journey. I think for me is I want to continue growing the sales team, continue providing those opportunities to the sales team, and just I don't know if I've been fortunate or if I've just attracted like-minded people, but the people that we have brought on have just been amazing. So I'm hoping that that trend continues and that we keep the culture where it is, and really just have a have a culture of being top producers. Basically, become an exclusive group within our city. And then on the other side of things, I want to scale up the investment side of the business where we're doing 10 to 15 flips at all times, just consistently throughout the year. My dream goal right now is to do about 100 investment properties a year. It could be either flips or wholesales or something like that.
Wow, that's awesome. So when you were think back to your first year in real estate, and I assume then your goal was just keep selling more houses, right? Did you envision what you've built today? Like, I
No,
want
this has got to be
no,
the only opportunity in the world where you can have so many open doors in a single career path. There's basically a limitless amount of opportunities. I mean, I could be an agent, I could be an investor, I could be an agent investor, I could be a team leader, I could be a podcast host, I could be a coach, I could be anything. I could, I could be a TV host. You can literally
right?
do anything in the real estate industry. It's just kind of getting out of that mindset of commission check to commission check and taking a look at the bigger opportunities around you.
That's right. When did you think that was it just one step after another? Just taking steps, or when did you first see, hey, this could be so much bigger than just sales?
It was being in the rooms. Actually, I went to one event in particular, um, because I was trying to grow, trying to learn, trying to get around the right people. And I realized this is probably a room of 100 people that truly own, they're real estate operators. They own true businesses. Um, and I am, for some reason, I am probably making less money than everybody in this room. Yet I'm the only one running out in the hallway to answer my phone when the client calls.
Mm,
That was the eye opener for me. Whereas, okay, I've got to make some changes. And ever since then, it's just kind of compounded, and now we have a third little girl on the way. So it's I knew that I need to be home more. I can't continue to do all night showing houses and writing contracts. There's just some things that are more important, and the
absolutely.
path that I've gone down is just it's more time, just as much, more money. It just seemed to be a no brainer for me.
What advice would you give to the agents who are first year Matt Kane? Just, and let me clarify, you know what that means, but for agents who are still just trying to get their business off the ground and sell a few more houses and sell a few more houses, what advice would you give to those people?
Selling a few more houses and kind of getting that sales business off the ground. I think um, just the idea of leverage in general, and not just like hiring people. Um, Leverage can be seen in many different ways as an individual agent. For me, it was hiring a TC, and a lot of the stuff we haven't talked about here today was, it's leveraging lead sources. People might say, "Hey, I don't pay for Zillow. I don't do X, Y, and Z." Leverage every single referral based lead source that you can do and keep those platforms up to date, and you will have more business than you could ever imagine. I'm pretty sure my first year doing 100 transactions a year, maybe 65 to 70 of them had some sort of referral fee attached to it. And I was happy to pay it because I did not have the money to go buy all my own ads and do all my own ad spend. I was literally paying via referral another company to do my advertising for me. And that allowed me to operate with low overhead and run really lean and really fast.
That's a great way to look at it. It seems like the agents who bitch the most about paying a referral fee are also, to put it bluntly, the most broke.
Yeah.
Is that what you've
Oh, I mean,
seen?
think about what it takes to actually create a marketing channel, a
Right.
successful marketing channel outside of, and I know where you would stand on this because you have created marketing channels. But I have a friend here in my local market, and he always talks about how his ads. I run free ads, and they stay online forever. Even running a YouTube ad, that's not free. That
No,
costs your time. And unless you have no value on your time, it's not free. It's just a different medium.
that's right. That's right. Yeah, and it makes a ton of sense the way you put it, that you could just pay 25, 30, 35% to one of these referral based lead providers, and you didn't have to create any of that. It's their marketing channels, their advertising dollars. You just get the client, and it's kind of a wash.
You get the client and you get their sphere of influence. I always think of it like it's a barrier to entry. It's just an entry fee is all that is. And if I looked back and ran the numbers, I'm sure it would be astonishing as to how many people that I have worked from a referral based lead source that I've treated well, that have referred me to their friends and family, where I paid no referral on.
Right.
So it's just something to get your business going.
I love it. I love it. Matt, incredible insight and experience that you've shared. It's awesome how you're constantly just reaching new levels, but and I mean this as a compliment, you're not doing anything crazy, complicated, or fancy, right? You're doing fairly simple stuff, but you just keep doing it and then making bold moves, maybe taking a short-term risk here or there, but to learn something new, and you just keep growing, and it's badass. And so you're such a good example to agents of what's possible, and that's why I wanted you on the show today, again, is to show what's possible, because most agents, they're just looking one step ahead at just the next deal. But my God, like, Tarek El Moussa from
Oh yeah,
whatever
yeah.
whatever the hell his show's called. He's followed by paparazzi, for God's sakes. Uh, what's his flipping show
I get
called?
his ClickFunnels. I get everything.
Oh
He,
yeah,
he's got like a real estate investing business,
yeah.
sales team. He's got everything.
TV star, like People Magazine and Us Weekly follow his ass. But he was on this podcast a few years ago, and he started as a solo real estate agent. He just wanted to sell more houses, so he pitched this show idea to HGTV, thinking it would help him sell more houses as a realtor. And what that led to was obviously this big career, and all sorts of different doors opened. And you've created those doors for yourself. And these stories need to be told more. So I appreciate you doing it. I'm honored that we get to work together. We're business partners. Anyone who's part of our team gets Matt as a business partner, I mean, my God, no brainer right there. So Matt, what's the best way for people to find you?
Find me on Instagram at Matthew P Kane, or Facebook at Coastal Carolina's Favorite Realtor.
Love it.
Shoot me a message. Love to chat.
And we'll put your contact info in the YouTube description and the show notes of the pod. Reach out to Matt. You've helped so many of our agents and our fellow team members with figuring out stuff that they're trying to figure out, but you've already figured out. And I appreciate what an open book you are, and how much you share. So I cannot, if you're listening, if you like Matt's vibe, if you like what he's talking about, I cannot urge you strongly enough, reach out to him and find a way to work with him and partner with him, because it's possible. It's a lot easier than you think it is. And your business will thank you. So Matt, thanks for being on the show, man.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate it. Thanks again.
Absolutely. So right when we finished recording that, I told Matt, I was like, dude, I feel like we were talking for like 2 hours, because it was just so jam-packed of great information. And there's just so much to learn there. There's so much to, I believe this is an episode that you're going to listen to more than once. Right. Every once in a while, I'll listen to a podcast where I go back and listen a second time, maybe even a third time, because it was just so jam-packed full of good stuff. I think this qualifies. So I hope you learned something. I hope you got what you need out of it. If you did, please know that there are many, many hundreds, thousands of other agents in the world that need to know this stuff. Please consider sharing this episode. Take a screenshot of your podcast player, share it in your stories, post a link, tag us, do something to spread the word and help other agents know that this episode in particular kicks ass, that you learned from it, and give them the chance to know about it so they can learn as well. And at the same time, you're helping us to grow the podcast, which I appreciate very, very much. So make sure that you reach out to Matt. His contact info is in the show notes. It's also in the YouTube description if you're watching on the tube. Thank you so much for listening. I'll be back next week, hopefully with my voice completely back. It's not that bad, but it pisses me off. So thanks for enduring my loss of a voice today. Stay well.